Yeah, great.
Whoa, this ain't going.
Down the bottom, and
But I appreciate everybody on the chat tonight for your comments. Well, hello, Bee Nation. It is Thursday night, and welcome back to the Bee Connection. What a day. We are getting snow right now, so it's that time of year, and some of the mountaintops could get up to a foot of snow. So fun times. I don't know if Keith's going to get any of this snow, or Randy. Spanky, you going to get any snow where you're at?
It says on my phone that we might get a little dusting.
A little dusting. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not ready for snow. It's been so pretty and so warm up here. But the bees definitely need it. They need time to shut down, hibernate, and stop getting out as much. They sure are burning through those resources. So, anyway, Jeremy's good to see you tonight, and several other people in the area. 60% chance for him out in Tennessee. So this is a big front coming out of the north. So definitely cold. Yeah, Brad's. No snow where you're at. I seen Ian did get some snow. It looked like so. But anyway, it's that time of year. It's time to get a little snow. But Tom and Melissa's not going to be here with us tonight. They're visiting Jonathan Bennett at their Bee Association, giving a little speech. I'm sure Tom's going to enjoy every minute of that. Wouldn't you say so, JW?
Imagine. That's kind of an understatement. They're good people. I like to aggravate him, but he's a talker now. Good. Yep. He's a talker. You know, he's talking about snow. I got a little spritz here this morning. You know,
wow.
Just it all melted as soon as it hit the ground. But I made a post on Facebook that we had a temperature inversion. Went from 6.3 yesterday morning to 3.6 this morning.
Wow.
But it's supposed to warm back up to 60 Sunday. By Sunday here, though, they're talking right now. Yeah. We'll see what happens. Yeah, I'm in limbo. I don't know where to go ahead and close my hives up. I've still got a few feeder buckets on, you know. It's not been cold enough to freeze, and I just hope it don't get cold enough that they lose the vacuum and dump a bunch of sugar water, you know, down my hive. That's my concern on it. So we'll see. I've been building sugar boards all day, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I've got some hives that still need to get some sugar boards on there. At another apiary that I have, and I still haven't got them moved. I was hoping to do that this weekend, so hopefully things will definitely warm up enough to be able to get them back home and get the candy boards on them. So what kind of feeders are you putting on those, JW? That's
I use strictly gallon buckets and quart jars.
All right. I got you. So
everything's, I just do vacuum. If I don't have any, like on your horizontal, I've got
jars,
frame feeders in it.
Oh, you got frame feeders in there. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
How many hives you got in that running it through winter this year?
I've just got one big one for it, and I'm gonna I haven't really reduced it down. I may not. I may just see what it does. I've got, looks like I've got the, pretty much, 23 full frames. All I've got, you made me that with, two frame nukes and one, or two frame nukes. I'm thinking 1 3 was in it. And
Yeah.
I've got one of them out. So I got a 3 and a 2 nuke, and the rest of it's full of bees.
Wow.
I made a follower board
Okay.
for it, you know.
Yep.
And then I put, then I, like I said, I put a frame feeder in, actually to be the next to the follower board or out 2 or 3 frames. It's not right up against the follower board, but it's,
Right.
and they use it, keep cleaning it out. It's just a gallon one.
Right.
And, they go through it. They're starting to slow way down here in just the last 2 or 3 days. They's going through a gallon about every 3 days, you know. So
Wow.
out. So
that little colonies are kicking it then.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's cool with that little hive that you got, you could do a little mini split, throw it over in the corner and, needed a quick queen replacement or something. It'd be really easy to do for you,
Well, I can do it right in that box. I've still got
Yep.
2, with the 3 or 2, or maybe
Yep.
even take that. I can make my own little low lid for it. You made me some lift lids, but
Yep.
I can take that I guess that 3 and 2 and make a 5 out of it, and
Yep.
make me a separate little low lid, because it does have, the way you made it, where the divider is between the 2. I'd have to make something. That'd be an open area if I just used the lid that you got on there. So
Yep.
I just store them and made some bigger ones to cover that space.
Yeah. Well, what's a lot of fun with your hive. I call it like a teaching hive. That's a Greg Burns original hive there. That's his design, and you can really play with it and really do lots of little neat tricks with it to meet your needs. And I think that one also has the observation window in it. So if you have somebody come over, you kind of let them
I
look
just love
inside
that
of it.
thing. You know what? It's nothing to do with the hive. I'm pretty sure. I put a April Fool's Day, April 1st, when I put a package in that hive on the first day of April, and they've expanded, and it was a Wilbanks hive, and they're pretty well all Italians, even the queens, and boy, they've really done well. I've got. Well, we'll see how they do, but I'm just going to leave them just like they are, and I may not even feed them, put any feed on top of them.
Right.
I might scatter a little mountain camp, just loose sugar, just see. But, I believe in sugar boards, but haven't figured out a way to make a sugar board for that horizontal yet. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
So I don't know just what I'm going to do with it as far as feed.
Camp method that won't that's a pretty good little thing to do. Just put some newspaper down and a little sugar on top of it.
Do you do that on some of your hives?
Yep. I do that on the horizontals also. And the cool thing with them is you're not, when you open that thing back up, you're not breaking any seals.
Sure.
You can lift that cover off. If it's got sugar, you're good. If it doesn't, add a little bit more, put it back down. You can just go in there whenever you're ready. So,
well, them bees today have been the calmest bees I've had. I could go out there in a t-shirt and no shirt. I've actually worked them a couple times this hot summer, with no shirt. They never have offered to come up when I lift them lids, whether that be the observation lid or the solid lid on the end, or either the lid that I made when I expanded the hive. So they've just really been really calm bees.
JW, with that horizontal, you may be able to take a frame and put some 1/8" hardware cloth in it.
Yep.
And then pack your sugar brick into that. When it's wet, pack it in, and that'll act as rebar and hold it in place for you.
Well, I know what you're talking about. I've just made I make my sugar shims, with hardware cloth. I've made 36 this afternoon. I've got about that many to go. I've got about half I've made. Got all my frames made, but don't have the sugar packed in all of them yet.
That would be about the only ideal that I would know to
Mm.
basically
I haven't
put your
thought
frame
about
into
that,
your
but
horizontal.
I might do some checking on that and see what happens.
Give it a try.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. What are you wanting to make for that hive?
Just a little candy board is what he's wanting to make.
For one of them long hives?
Yeah.
Yeah. One of Rick's. I got one of Rick's hives. It's a special one. It's a military hive.
You could do the frame like he said, or you could take and measure an inner cover and make a shim with something in it to hold the candy and put that in place of an inner cover. Because they won't be eating any. They'll be eating, but they won't be making no wax during the winter. You know, and
Yeah,
they
definitely.
I
don't
understand
have
what
any
you're saying.
propolis.
I thought about making one just like on the end there where the solid was, Rick, and just making one that
Yeah.
size. Just
Yeah.
standard.
Yeah,
I've
you
got-
just something
And
small.
I put an inch or 2 inch insulation on top of them feeder boards anyway. So the bees couldn't get out. I could probably do that. Just make one the size of that end board. Never
Yeah,
thought
you could
about
definitely do that. Put the dry sugar inside the frame feeder. You could do that
Yeah.
also.
Yeah.
I always think it works a little bit better on top, but you could definitely do that. So, Philip, you don't know. Oh, he went off on us. So, Spanky, how many colonies you going to run through winter this year?
Whatever.
I'll be right back, Ricky.
Yeah, that's fine.
If you're talking to me, I'm going in with 36. I've got them drawn down to 36. That's what I've got all shapes and descriptions. From triple D's 8. I've got 10 double deep 10 frames. I've actually got 10 of them, and I've got 20 8 frames from I've actually got 2 singles, and I've got out of the 20, I've got 3 singles, and I've got 5 triples. You know, out of the and they're all well, a couple of my triples has got just a medium super, on the top. The other one's got the deep supers, and then I've got 5 nukes and your horizontal. So I'm going into winter with. So
Yeah, I think I've only got 31 right now, JW. I think all the horizontals right now have bees in them. Even the Lance Hive, it's got bees in it. And this is the first year it's done this well. So I'm kind of curious to see how it's going to do through winter. It's supposed to be better than most of them. So, but they've only got 6 frames drawed out. So we'll see how that goes. Spanky, how many is you going to run through winter? As many as you can? Is that what you said?
Yeah, whatever makes it through winter,
Right.
That's about all I can do,
Yeah.
It's just pick up whatever's left.
Yeah. See, Philip's doing what I do when I'm watching live streams. I'm always building on something or building frames or, got to be busy while I'm watching. So
Yeah, I need to do more. How y'all doing?
doing pretty good, buddy. You getting any cold weather out there where you're at, Philip?
Yeah, it got down to like 38. I think yesterday morning.
Wow.
So yeah, it got below 40, and I don't know what it is now, but it feels cool. It's cool to me.
Right.
But yeah, it's cooling off here.
Yeah. So I've got a question for everybody. I've been looking at the Navi, and I really need to get some jars and stuff. Has anybody seen any really good discounts at Navi? Because I might just get Tom and Melissa to pick me up a couple of cases of jars. Anybody see anything good there?
I haven't. I've got to buy some more jars also, Rick. But
Right.
I haven't. I kind casually looked, but I haven't seen any special on jars. Usually Miller's down there in your areas. You got about the best prices on jars of the
Yeah.
beekeepers. I order a lot of the plastic stuff from an outfit out of Kansas.
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah, and that's something else to ask. Is glass better or plastic? I've always done glass mason jars, but I wanted to change it up and make it look a little bit more neater this year. And I feel like I'm giving away a little extra honey when I sell it, versus a whole pound jar.
You might ask. He said he just bought some from Miller. They're usually about as cheap at the Hive Life or Nobby outfits as anybody. So I don't know if Keith, if you can, I'm sure you can hear me. You might
Yeah.
post approximately what if they've got a special website for it, or you just how you got a hold of them.
Yeah. Keith does
How does
glass
your-
and plastic.
Okay.
I do both too. Actually, my best seller at my little old farm market is the quart mason jars.
Really?
No more of those. Yeah, well, we've been through this. I bet I went through this with the Honey King there the other night, but it was about how much you can get in a quart mason
Yeah.
jar. How much honey?
Yeah.
Yeah, you said you can't get 3 pounds, can you? I thought
No,
you
sir. I measured some. I weighed some again today. Just all I can get in one at the fill line is 2 pounds and 2.98 ounces,
Hmm.
or 2 pounds and
you-
98 hundredths of an ounce, so to speak.
If you wouldn't put that fake honey in there, it would weigh more. See?
There you go. Get him, Philip.
Well, that might
You know,
that may
water-
be the case. I'm just telling you what
water
my honey's
Water don't
weighing
weigh
for.
enough.
Randy he sells a lot of quart jars too, but my best seller, my little old farm table out there in the boondocks. I sell more quarts than anything. They'll pass. I can have 10 2-pound plastic sitting there. Now there's some people want the plastic squeeze bottles, but
Yeah.
usually the ones in my case, plastic squeeze. If they do what the squeeze bottles, they want them in the pounds instead of the 2 pounds.
Yeah. If you're doing plastic, do the squeeze.
Yeah. So, Keith, I wonder if I call down there to Tyler at Miller's Bee Supply and say, hey, I'm not going, but can I still get that 15% off for Nobby if she'd allow me to do that?
I'm sure they would. Just have Tom order for you.
Yeah.
That'd be the thing to do if you're concerned. If he's going to pick them up for you anyway, and you think you may come up there, or I can. Honestly, I will if I don't dial OH first. Well, I'll be at St. Louis if you're for sure coming up there.
So
yeah. I would be happy to bring them and pick them up for you.
Okay. Yeah, I'll be up there in Louisville. Not Louisville, but up there with Tom and Melissa coming up. So
well, here's the thing about it is let Tom do the ordering for you.
Okay.
If you don't care to, and then if I need to haul them home, bring them to here, instead of Tom's place, then that way you won't have your credit card and all that number scattered all over the country. You understand what
Nicholas
I'm
has got
saying?
a question here. He says, hey, Casual Bee Research here. Have you guys dealt with swarms of bees that attack your cats?
Depends
Attack
on what
your
you mean
cats?
by attack.
Yeah.
I've got 24 farm cats around my beehives. They run back and forth through there, and they don't pay more attention to the.
Huh.
Actually, some of them little ones, once in a while they'll swat at a bee or something going by, but I've never had bees attack them, to my knowledge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just
Go ahead, Spike.
I don't have any. Great, Spank.
I've got cats, but I've never had my cats stung. I've always get my dogs are the ones that get stung
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah,
So,
I've got a little old dog. He won't go near. If he hears a bee buzzing, he's gone.
right.
You know,
Yeah.
he's been stung a
Mine,
few times, and he won't go near a beehive. I can tell you.
yeah. When I'm harvesting honey and there's a few bees buzzing in the house, my dog gets real nervous.
Yeah. Well, mine's more than nervous. He goes wherever the bees are not.
Yeah.
He's-
And I will say, Nicholas, that I believe animals can be allergic to bee stings also. So,
oh, it can be, yes, sir. I lost
So,
a nice show heifer cow one time from wasp stings. She went into anaphylactic shock and died on me.
oh,
really,
Got her treated, and I always,
goodness. So, Ricky, on those jars,
yeah.
I only do glass. I only do glass, and I've had maybe 2 people in 2 years. But one lady asked me, "How do you keep them from being such a mess?" Because she's got kids, you know.
Yeah.
And you give them a spoon in the honey jar, and it's all over the place. And then like I think I've only had 1 or 2 requests for the squeezed plastic. And I actually have some that I bought, but I never have used them. I was thinking about bringing some. If somebody asked me again, I'll just give them a jar and say, pour it in this. But most of the people say, "Well, I appreciate you just only having glass." You know, a lot of people don't want plastic stuff.
Yeah.
So I think it's just a matter of your customers and what you think they might want.
Well, I believe especially in their area, because we're a bunch of hillbillies up here, and we like to can stuff, and that's a jar that we can use later to can some food. So,
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
that's why I usually go with mason jars, and people seem to like that. They like the glass, they like to reuse it. And I do have a lot of customers that will actually return the jars back, and that's really nice to
Right,
have that
right.
happen. So,
Yeah, I buy my jars. They have the lug lids, and I give people $1 discount on their next honey purchase if they bring the
yep,
jar back.
yep,
And
absolutely.
I try to order a few extra lids every time to be able to put a new lid on them each time I fill them.
yeah.
But,
Yep.
well, mute. There you go.
So, yeah, maybe I'll get some glass and some plastic jars in.
I've got both. What I've got on my little table at my True Farm, I don't go to any farm markets. Mine is a True Farm market. It's at the farm. Just a table sitting out in the driveway. I keep pints, and I keep 2-pound bottles. I keep quarts, and I keep 1-pound bottles. And I've got a few 12-ounce, little plastic jobbies. And I've only sold 2 of those things. I'm not going to order any more. When I order, I'm going to quit them because people just don't.
They don't.
If you got pints or 1 pound sitting there, they won't buy that 12 ounces for a couple dollars less. So.
Yep, I see that, Philip. That's going to be your next queen rearing frame there. You done shaved one of the ears off.
Yep, he sure has.
Brandon,
Yeah, I really,
the ground's wet.
Okay.
yeah, I'm really wondering if Tom and Melissa's going to have enough room if I order a box of stuff, because
Well, I sure will, Rick. I mean, I've got a ton doodly that I'm going to drive to Nobby. So.
Paul asked you a question. JW says, which jar are people more likely to steal?
Yeah. Well, the ones that got me took all 2-pound bottles. They took 6 2-pound bottles.
There you go.
So hopefully Randy's on here. I need to talk to Keith and Randy. I have an observation hive I'd like to get to Nobby, and actually 2 observation hives. If either one of y'all might have space, I'll try to get in contact with both of you guys in the next couple of days and see if we can't get together. One of them's for Tim and Hannah, and the other one's for Lisa. And like to get those to them if that's possible. If you guys was to have a little extra room, I sure would appreciate that. So.
Oh,
So
your cohort there, King Philip, your other king up, your Northern King associates, he's bragging on you on your honey.
Yep.
oh, okay, good. Can't remember which one I sent to Russell. I sent one to Mike and one to Russell. And have I told you that story? I saw Russell at Nobby, and I gave him a jar of honey to take to Mike. I just assumed they were neighbors, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they live on one side of the state and on the other.
Yeah.
Russell was he's so nice that he just said, okay, I'll do it. And then when I talked to Mike, he said, I live a long way from him, you know. I was like, no, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But yeah, one of them, I don't know which one got which bottle. I gave one of them a Capel one and one of the Richland, the farm honey. So JW, have you had any more trouble with theft up there?
No, just that one. I think that's a isolated incident. I'm pretty sure it is. I've got pretty good faith. I went right back. I just replaced the change money in the 3-pound coffee can as my lockbox for people. I keep $50 in 5s and 1s in there for people to make change with, and this I'm probably still ahead if you want to know the truth, because most people don't take the change. If it's $18 and they got a 20, they'll leave the 20 2 1.
I think Lee's got a picture of those robbers. If he'll post it here in just a little bit,
Okay.
we'll let everybody see those robbers.
I hate to see what that's going to be. I know how you guys operate on me. Yeah. Oh, well, I had a few of them too. I caught 2 more of them last week.
Oh, it's got to be a raccoon.
For your house, JW.
Sir?
I heard that's a picture of your house right there.
No, I don't think so. That's too high class for me. I live in a tar paper shack.
Yeah, see his house behind him there. That's his house behind him there.
Sometimes I have to sleep in that little building there behind me. My wife kicks me out.
That's pretty interesting, Cameron. He says he went out last Saturday, no bees, doing laundry Sunday, boom, 600 bees in the house, came through the dryer vent. Got about half of them out safely. Wow. Man.
I wonder where he's located. Do you know him, Rick Cameron?
I think he's the one that had the problem with the bees getting on the siding, wasn't it, Spanky? Is that right?
I can't remember, to be honest with you.
Where are you located at, Cameron, if you're on here? Must be someplace a little warmer if he's got to have a
Yeah.
must have swarmed or have gone to his hive and went in the house. They want a bigger hive, they want more room maybe.
They wanted a warmer spot.
Now see, if you put in half the work you put in that honey on doing that, you wouldn't have that problem.
Yep.
You know, Philip, there's people that does that for a living. You know, it's not near as frustrating.
I'm not going to try to go through the same hole this time. I think the grain is sending it that direction.
Yeah.
So, Phil, let me ask you a question. Have you ever gone through the ear of those into the frame?
Yeah, I put one in the top.
Okay.
And I put the bottom on, and then when I take it out, I put one right through there.
Okay.
I come through the side. I have one coming down, and then one through the side.
Yep.
That's how I do it.
Well, I did tell you you had queen rearing frame started. Now you got both sides of it.
That's right. You're right. It's a nice one.
Yep, just shave that other end right off.
Yeah. So
Oh man.
Jeff Butler says, King Philip, do you want some more of what we call Texas Deep?
Do I want some more? I'm
Yeah.
I'm building some more. I'm doing about four more colonies this year.
Now explain what a Texas Deep is. I've never heard that before.
Yeah, it's well actually, let me see. I might have a frame here. I could show you. Give me just a second.
Yep.
I'm assuming it's a combo frame.
Yeah, it is.
It's a double deep.
It's a combination of a medium and a deep frame.
It's
Okay.
the same thing that Vino's got in his bee barn.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, more or less. It's not as fancy as that, but yeah, I'll show you one. It's it. All right, here we go.
Okay.
So, see that?
Okay.
Yep.
And I just use a starter strip on it, but it's a the size of a deep and a medium combined together. And
So
I make the. Go ahead, Rick.
you got some of those hives that size then? I mean, is that what you're kind of running? Some of those, like Vino?
Yeah, I'm running 7 of them of my 55 or 50 or so. 7 out of 50.
How'd that work for you this year?
It's working pretty good. I've only had to feed one of the 7 because it's kind of like leaving a medium box over your deeps. So
Right.
the bees now they probably make less honey for me, but I don't have to worry about feeding them. To me, it's kind of fun I started doing this before I went with single deeps. It's kind of like, I call it single deep brood management for dummies.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry so much about swarming, but
Right.
you can still run. It's like a single deep. You can just pull. You're not going through 2 boxes. You're going through 1 box. So yeah, I enjoy it. I make these frames. These frames are 1/2 inch sticks. They're 3/8
Yep.
because I put a little tension on them with these, this fishing line. So
Right.
make them a little thicker.
So are you making the whole frame, or are you buying the top and the bottom and just making the side rails?
I'm making the whole thing. I'm already making all my frames anyway, so and the bottom's a little thicker on this too. It's a 1/2 inch, but I think that's about it. The commercial ones you buy, I think, are a 1/2 inch, but the ones I have on my regular deeps are only 3/8 on the bottom.
Do you make comb out of all that, Philip, or do you extract it some way? How do you extract it?
Oh, I don't. I just put supers on top of this. It's just a Langstroth
Oh,
format.
okay.
Yeah, this is my brood box.
So
It's real neat.
you'll always have your first year you probably won't get a whole lot of honey, but after that you're really going to start seeing
Right.
honey because all that comb and honey's already set
Exactly.
up in that bottom of that box, right?
Exactly. That's the idea. And it's real. One thing is pretty fun when you open one up. You can get almost a perfectly circular brood pattern. It's not football shape. So it's pretty fun. It's kind of just experimental. But I'm running 7 of them. I've added I probably had 2 or 3 the first year, and I added 3 or so last year, 3 to 4. And I'm going to split some of those. I don't think I was putting this in my swarm traps. That's how I stocked them.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what I'm going to do this year is just do it with splits and leave my swarm traps with regular frames in them.
So I built a double deep for a guy out in Colorado because it's cold out there where he's at, and we put 2 flow hives in the center of that colony so that either colony on either side could use the flow frames, depending on which way he wanted to let them go in and out. And I like the double deeps was definitely better for his area out there in Utah.
I'm glad you came in, Jimmy. I was trying to think your name to tell him that you used those up there in your backyard operation.
Was that, hey, Ricky, was that the double deep? Was that all in 1 frame?
Yeah, sure was.
Okay, yeah, that's They call that a Lazutin
Yep.
frame.
Yep.
Yeah, he does that, and he's from Lazutin is from an area where it gets real cold, so he needs a lot of honey reserves in him. But
Yeah, I don't
see.
know if Vino ever changed his design. I know he used to have that piece of wood in the middle of it.
yeah, he does.
I
He
think
makes
that
it.
kind of affected his brood pattern a little bit.
It may have. Oh shit! Mute me there, Rick.
You're all right, brother. I was trying to pull up this picture of that double deep and send it to Lee.
I don't know if he ever changed his design or not, but he kind of had them still segregated, even though it was one frame.
Right. I don't like the bar in the middle if you're going to try that pattern. I don't think it works quite as well. You don't get that big brood pattern that you're really looking for.
Well, I mean, I can understand it from a structural standpoint on the frame itself, but I mean, I would imagine you have to make those frames anyhow. Why wouldn't you just do like Philip and make thicker frames?
Right. And that's what I did when I made them.
I think the reason he has that piece in the middle is because he uses the plastic foundations.
Yeah.
So that holds his foundation in place. I think. Well, actually, no, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. He uses the plastic. He uses the plastic foundation with a gap in them, doesn't he? That's what I thought he did.
He uses foundation in it, but I don't know if you necessarily have to have that.
He has little wooden blocks. He has little wooden blocks on the side of his that grabs the top of that bottom end. But he does have a medium foundation and I think he has a deep on top and a medium in the bottom. I think that's how he does it. I haven't seen any videos from him in a long time.
I haven't either. It has been quite a while, actually.
Hey, Jimmy, are y'all coming to the Nobby this year? You and your missus?
Yeah, I hope Jimmy comes back. That's the person one of the people I'm going to miss is having him there because
yeah, Jimmy. Are y'all talking about neighborhood Jimmy?
Yeah.
Yeah, he said he was coming. I think he's been talking about it on his videos.
Okay.
I think he's already bought all. I've heard him say he bought his tickets and his hotel. I still hadn't signed up yet. I've got to pull the trigger still. I'm just dreading the drive. I'm dreading the drive or the.
Goes up.
Yeah, when does that happen? The end of November?
I can't remember. I seen he had posted that.
When they raised the price a little bit, you talked about?
Yeah.
Yeah, when is that? When is that, JW?
I'm not sure.
I thought it was maybe the 11th, December the 11th, but don't hold me to that, Philip.
Okay.
Don't ever be asking me for details. I'm one of those guys that runs pretty much with the seat of my pants.
Typical man right there.
He had one price increase in the summer, but it was only like $10. That wasn't really enough to motivate anybody to jump on it.
Here's this double deep. Lee's got some of the pictures up right here. So he actually had me to make a little stand for the jars to sit on. So that's the top pin, and it would actually rotate down, and it would go down, and the honey would come out of this little stand. So it's like a little back table on it. So, and then you got another picture, Lee? Yeah. So there you can see that you have two different sections where the honey can come out. Ruth did some artwork on it, and we added a copper top to it. So it was really very pretty. So, and that's the front side of the hive. It had two different entrances on it.
And I'm glad you're showing that, Rick. If I may, do you close in your leg below the hive? You just leave them open.
Say that again now.
Do you ever put anything around the legs, like some styrofoam or something?
When you see them, or just in general?
No, I don't think I have, JW.
Okay.
Yeah, and this is the divider board inside, and we made some plugs in this divider board with the queening squares on it. So there you go. At least showing it right there. And that way, if he wanted one colony to fill the bottom super up for the flow hives, he could do that. Or if he wanted them both going into the top, you could do it that way. So really a very interesting combination. And then in the hive itself, we had to actually cut the side out and take this little plug out so that you could actually slide the flow frames in for the bottom section. So it was definitely an innovative hive, and I hope a little bit later. And you can, that's something right there, Philip. I actually used screws on that hive. I screwed those frames in and glued them to make it even extra stronger. So, but I really do like making something that's a little bit different. I had a shim on there so the bees couldn't get up through the sides of it also in the middle. So it was a very interesting build. And I enjoy building something new like that, and hope to have a video of it maybe here in the next few months when my foot gets as it's healing up. So because I'm going to be sitting here not doing nothing, so good time to do all that. So what's going on, Charlie?
Oh, not much. Just cold up here.
Oh yeah,
It's about 3 inches of snow down your way, isn't it?
Yeah, I think we got about an inch out here right now.
Yeah, I was looking at the Weather Channel and kind of and all that. Hey, Ryan from Peabody.
Thanks, Peabody. I appreciate that. You gonna get some snow up where you're at, Charlie? Because that's coming out of the north, right?
No, we got rain. We got a good rain finally after about, I don't know, 40 some days of no rain at all.
Yeah.
We got pretty good rain last night. Now it's windy. And so we're kind of back into back in the normal weather, I guess you would call it. Hey, Jimmy. And I don't know. I got insulation on top of my hives, and I guess it's time to put it's been kind of windy today. I was thinking windy last night, of course, but maybe start putting my carpet around my hives that are behind me there. And all that. Tom's got 2.5 inches of snow. Well, they did say it might snow here Friday or something like that, but nothing to get excited about, I don't think. Now, out in the mountains, out close to West Virginia, they'll get some pretty good snow out that way. So,
yeah, right there on the high peaks, and that's kind of where we're at. I think we sit right here about 3,000 feet above sea level, and then the mountaintops run around 3,500 feet, and they tend to get most of the snow for catch a lot of it anyway. So Jeff's got 2 inches already. Jeff, are you in Tennessee? I think he is actually. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, Ryan. Yeah, it was windy here last night too. But that's about it as far as me, as far as what's happening here. I mean, the bees have been flying. Actually, I went out there today and it was about 55 or something like that. And there was a few bees, kind of flying a little bit and all that stuff. But other than that, they're pretty much staying inside, and that's pretty much it.
Well, that's about what you want this time of year. You don't want them moving around too much, burning up those resources. So
something that I saw here when it was, it's only been cold here to like a day or so. And I guess it was Sunday. I went and O8 them Saturday afternoon. And I went back out Sunday morning, I don't know, I'll say around noontime, checking the mite drops and on 5 or 6 of the hives. And Ricky's he's down there in Boone, North Carolina, Ryan.
Yeah, moonshine country. That's right.
Huh?
He said moonshine country. Yeah, that's about right for us.
Yeah, that's right. And anyway, I seen drones flying in and out, not being kicked out, but flying in and out. you know,
Somebody else had
and I
mentioned
see,
that and said that does happen.
it was on a couple hives. They were
Mhm.
flying in and they just landed and they walked on in, and I seen some of them coming out and they flew out. Now I do have one drone frame in each hive and all that, but usually they, let the drones hatch and then they fill it up with nectar, in the winter
Yeah.
time.
You ever
Oh.
see that, JW? A few drones in your colonies? Because some people
I
see
haven't seen it. I haven't seen a drone in my colony for probably 40 days, any mine. I'm not saying they're
I
not
was
there.
just, it wasn't so much in the colony, the fact that they were going in and out of the colony.
Well,
right.
Now I've seen them like last year, people were saying like I had a queen that was not getting mated. And I said, well, and I guess it was maybe no rain or whatever. And you couldn't find a drone inside that hive. There just wasn't any.
yeah.
And all that stuff. I'm not sure whether, like Tom there, it's been warm. I'm wondering whether or not I had seen some pollen come in on a hive or two, kind of a bright, sort of a bright orangey looking stuff. And I wonder whether or not there is brood in there. I did pull some of them. I'd pull the inner cover off and I'd pull up one frame out of the top, which is pretty much all just honey up there. It's well, it is all honey, but they I didn't go any deeper. I'm not busting any seals or nothing like that. And this year the big, I won't say an experiment, but everybody around here has gone to they call them insulated hives or condensing hives, they call them, and where I took a 1/4-inch piece of wood that I made 3.5 by 5 inches long, lay that over top of the vent hole in the center of the inner cover, and then put 1.5 inches of insulation on top of the whole hive. Put your telly cover on top of that, and supposedly that's going to keep them warm and keep a heat dome up in there, and the water will go down the sidewalls. And the only thing I did see was when I pulled a chloroplast board out with check the mites, you could see moisture. I'll say if you turned it up on its edge, you might see a couple drops trying to run down the board. I don't know whether that was because it was cold at night and there was condensation from the heat coming down out of the box, or whether the water's actually, draining down the sides of the box like they say it's supposed to.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize how much moisture the hives have inside of them. And, even the horizontal hives will have some moisture build up in them. And people think it's their hives leaking all the time. And it's like, well, they're not leaking. It's just the moisture building up inside your colony. So
yeah, it's the respirations of the bees.
Right.
Now on a horizontal hive, you got you're not ventilating, like most people ventilate the hive.
Right.
You don't ventilate. Do you ventilate a top or a?
Well, I'll be honest with you, Charlie. When I first started making them, we did not ventilate the tops, and we did see that some of the hives was getting a little bit of mold building up in them.
And that's in the lid, or usually your hives have boards that cover up everything, right?
Yeah, it's on those inner covers is where you see that mold start building up at, and I've suggested people now to when they buy the hives to actually buy them with a screen bottom board, and we encase that bottom board, and there's about a 1/4 inch gap, and that's enough airflow that moisture has a way to get out through the bottom of the hive, and that works the best. And
so the hot air goes up, and then the moisture comes down on the sides and goes out the bottom.
Exactly.
I belong to that there South Michigan Bee Club up there. I forget what his name. James is the guy's name.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, he had that there Tardif for the guy up there in the Yukon, and he was explaining that. And that was one of the things that he was, you can read all of his things, but there's always things that he will explain, or it seems like from when I'm listening to him, they hit on some key points. And he had solid bottom boards, and then you have, because of the moisture coming down, especially up there, you got ice dam out the front door because it's coming out as water hits the 20 below zero up there, and it freezes.
Yep.
So then he replaced his solid bottoms with screen bottoms, and then everybody hears he keeps the screen bottoms open, but what they don't hear is he makes a cavity under the bottom boards that is a dead air space.
Yep.
Where the wind can't blow up into the hive, and that lets that moisture out.
Yep.
And it's like my hives. I got them to where the chloroplast is pretty tight in there, but it's still enough. It's not watertight. It'll let that moisture out of there through the bottom board, and that kind of a thing. So, but he explained it. I had heard a lot of his same. Well, I guess when I was watching him, he was showing how he had put all these 23 sensors in there for heat and that kind of stuff. But then another thing that was I'd not seen him talk about or have a drawing on it is that you have the cluster and you got a frame here and a frame here, and you got the bees in the middle here.
Mm-hmm.
And the heat goes up between those two frames. And he said, and the heat, of course, hits the top and goes out. And the cluster is in the center, and the hot air banks down the side where the frame, there's no bees over here on that frame. It goes down the sidewalls. So they have a kind of a clear path for the air to move, or convection, I guess is what you would call it. And I said, oh, okay, that clears up. It is, the moisture isn't going straight down in the bees or anything like that, or whatever.
Yeah, no, and even with a super on top, usually, if they haven't made it up to that center super, even then they still have, I think you have that same circulation. But if you leave too many boxes on, and I know a lot of beekeepers in my area, you do this, they'll leave 4 supers on top of that colony. And I'm thinking, man, you're going to freeze them bees out, because now they have to, all that warm air that could be there for them when they get to the top is gone now. And
now, is the 4 supers full of honey?
No.
Nothing?
Nothing. No. Usually it's just comb. And I don't know why some people do that here, but they tend to do that.
I would think, I can see it. Well, that's a good way to store it. Well, then go ahead and put another bottom board over, or just a box, or a bottom board. Let's say it has, well, it really doesn't have to have ventilation, but just stack your combs up outside to keep the mice out of them and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I just watched a guy. He's, I think, in North Carolina or South Carolina, and he just popped up on my feed, and he's seen varroa mice, but he visually seen them on the backs of his bees. Why did my hive die? It's like they were walking dead, buddy, and they just didn't know it. They were dead. And but I watched a video of him tonight, the first hive inspection in. So he put a nuke in, 5-frame nuke in a 10-frame deep box. Came back 8 days later. Oh, look at all the bees in here. And I'm like, where? And to him, there was a lot of bees, but he was brand new. And he put a second deep on. And I'm like, why are you doing this? This is so many months ago,
Right.
And it's like, why are you doing that? I said, there's no bees there. I said, they're still building the comb on the outside out. And all.
Yeah, well, when we're all new beekeepers, we tend to make a lot of mistakes, and man, have I made a lot of mistakes.
So, hey, Ricky, I was wanting to show you something I came up with today, and maybe help somebody out.
Yeah,
if anybody ever does any stenciling, I was stenciling my name and phone number on my boxes.
Yeah.
And my stencil brush had a bunch of dried paint on it and wasn't working very good. So I looked, like Harbor Freight didn't have any stencil brushes. So I started just kind of thinking, what could I do to fake one? So what I did was I took one of these cheap little chip brushes here. It's like an inch or 3/4 or whatever, 1 inch wide. And I just, I
give it a haircut.
I put it, yeah. Well, I put a rubber band around it
Oh, okay.
several times, and then I took some scissors and clipped it off flat, and it's nice and stiff.
Awesome.
So now I can stencil with it. So
Yeah, we watched
if you don't have,
that stenciling a couple of episodes back, I think.
yeah, it's worked really good for it. So yeah, it's a little homemade stencil brush.
That's awesome.
You don't have to go spend $10 on one at Michael's or somewhere.
Right.
At the craft store.
Well, Philip, I seen. Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. JW, do you stencil your boxes? Do you
No.
put anything on them?
All my boxes are on property that I own.
Yeah, with the stealing that's been going in North Carolina, we lost a lot of hives this year because people were actually stealing the whole hives. So I think stenciling your name on it, a little harder for them to steal your stuff. They've got to paint it before you find it.
It's actually a requirement in Texas, but hardly anybody does it.
Oh,
you're supposed to have you can use a brand, or it says you have to be permanently marked with your, if they say name and address, or name, address, and phone number, but as long as you have your name and phone number, or there's actually I have a 6-digit brand, they call it, and you can actually brand your hives with, I can't remember what the 6 digits are, but it's just an ID number.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're supposed to mark all your hives, but hardly anybody does.
Charlie, you mark your stuff, or you?
No,
I don't think I remember seeing it marked when I was up there.
No, I mean, it just stays right where it is, right behind me there, and that's it.
You've got an open plane where you're at. Somebody's coming. They're in range with a gun, aren't they?
Yeah, but you know how that'll invite trouble. It seems like.
Yeah. Hey, Mark.
Philip, I seen you were making frames over there, and don't you have a frame thing that holds them frames tight so you can put all 10 of them in a box?
I've got this jig.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got the where the bars at go in the middle in there. Yeah, that's what I made.
Yeah. This is just some pecs, some 1/2-inch pecs. They don't fit real tight because I made them to where they would work on my 3/8-inch deeps, and they'd also work on those 1/2-inch Texas deeps. So they're a little sloppy with the 3/8 pieces in there.
Okay.
But it still works.
I made mine, but I used a board, or like a rectangular board, to go across there.
Yeah, I thought about doing that. I looked at different ones online, and I just thought this one would be easy to work with.
Yeah,
and it is pretty easy.
I've seen one I worked with years ago. It was store bought from, I'll say, Man Lake. It had springs on it.
That's cool.
Mark, what's going on with you, brother?
I chimed in here to see if Philip would come stencil all my boxes for me.
You know what, Mark? I got my stencil out, and I did my first. Your first one's the best one. After that, they get a little paint on the back of your stencil, and they get worse and worse. My very first one I did looks really good, and you know what? It's upside down. Put the darn thing. I've stenciled 3 different times, and I got 3 boxes with the stencils upside down. I've made a mistake at least one of every one. I did 6 tonight, but yeah, I'm getting a little faster. I can go them in less than 10 minutes now. Let's see here. Knocking you guys around. There we go. If you don't look too close, it's all right.
That looks good.
Yeah, I think that's good enough for you to do some of my boxes too, Philip, if you don't mind.
Yeah, it's pretty.
No, that's one of the slower things I do. I don't enjoy that part of it. But
I just get a little spray gun on for that thing, that much paint.
I've tried that. The spray gun goes in and spreads out behind the stencil. Now my stencil does have a little standoffs on it. That spray gun might work if it didn't have that on it. I don't know if it was this live, it was somebody's live I was on, and somebody suggested using a roller.
Yeah.
And
There's a
I tried. Okay, yeah, that didn't come out so good. It really ran with that, but it was worth a try.
Yeah. If you
You
got the
say
time
what's
to
what?
wait,
Go ahead, Hank.
if you got the
What?
time to wait, you get one of those quick dry clear coats and you hit that stencil with it and let it dry and then hit on top of that clear coat. The clear
Ah,
coat done went past those standoffs and dried in place, so the black or whatever color shouldn't be able to go past the clear coat.
that makes sense.
But you'd either have to get a quick one or you'd have to let it sit there and dry.
Yeah,
Well,
I need to just I need to just order one of those things from Scores and Bores,
yep.
because those you can hold. They're thick and you can hold them right up against the wood and spray paint.
That's what I use, Philip, is Scores and Bores.
Be done with it.
And then
Yeah,
you can just use an aerosol and just spray it real quick and you're done.
right.
so
Now
that
I need to do
stencil
that.
is that steel like a copper stencil or something?
No, it's pretty,
Mine's plastic. Yeah, theirs is a thick metal.
yeah, it's pretty thick.
It's powder coated, isn't it? I think.
Um, the one I got from wasn't powder coated.
Oh.
Is that from over Nobby, Ricky?
Yeah, and I actually got one. I actually got one for Greg Burns because he was buying some horizontals off of me and got a stencil also made with his logo on it and was spraying it. And Ruth would put a little red on it and touch it up, so it looked really good.
Yeah, cool.
Mark, you got a stencil?
I got one I made about 15 years ago. What's left of it. I carved that out with a pocket knife.
Wow, that looks good.
Yeah, that's all right. Yeah.
About time for a new one, though. It looks like.
Yeah, I don't use it anymore.
But
DC wants to know why we use a branding iron. Not that I know of.
I'd like to have a branding iron. That'd be nice.
Yeah, me
I've
too.
got several of them, but they all got my name on them, Philip.
You probably got some. You brand
my
your
lady
cow.
won't sit still long enough for me to brand her.
The last 20 years, we pretty well freeze branded, freeze brand cattle instead of hot brand them. It's a lot easier on the cattle. Just makes them.
How does that work, JW?
Just makes it just makes the brand comes out instead of being bare. It's white hair. It'll turn all the hair white.
But
yeah, I do the same thing.
But how do you get it? How do you get it cold?
Liquid nitrogen.
Oh, okay.
In tanks, I kept my semen. I used some of my semen tanks for a freeze brand tank. But liquid nitrogen will do it.
Tell you what, I did get something in the mail. I'll show you guys. I hadn't even opened it yet. I know what it is. I'm banging all around here. Hold on a second.
Yeah, Lee's got Score and Bores pulled up there. Some of his stuff. I am very happy with the one I got from him.
Well, what you need to do is get yourself a 2 foot by 2 foot CNC router and then just keep putting your boards in before you some of them and grind them out. That way they can't overpaint them.
Right.
Hey, Matt.
Yeah.
I've actually heat branded a few of my just for fun. I've just took a branding iron and heated it with a torch and burnt my boxes. It works pretty good. If you got a branding iron, I've got several of that I don't use anymore. So.
Yeah. Galloway Lights took and he took a piece of metal and he cut it and he scores, I think, the inside of his box. And you wouldn't know anything just looking at it. But if you ran like a QR code or like a barcode scanner over it, it would scan as a barcode.
Really?
And that's pretty sneaky.
That is good. I like that.
But it put the grooves into the box. I think he was doing the inside of the box, and it was a barcode.
How did he do that?
He just cut a piece of metal to match the black and the white of the barcode.
Is it a brand or is it a actual piece of metal?
It was a piece of metal, and he was using it to save the box.
Oh,
So
okay.
it wasn't just painted on it; it was actually indentations in the box. But it looked like somebody had tried to do a rough cut on the inside to get them to draw propolis, but it was a barcode.
That's cool.
That's sweet.
Oh yeah, that's nice.
I've got that on one of my hives, in fact. That might be the original.
Yeah, I'm not gonna be too impressed with this because it's got a cord on it. I'm not. I'm gonna show you.
Oh, that's your vaporizer.
There you go.
Yeah, I looked that up on the internet.
And who's making that one right there, Philip?
This one is got a nice heavy handle on it. This one is his name's Brian Jackson. Although I can already see something I don't like about it. Look at that nozzle. That's not looking so good, is it?
I don't like the way the wires come out at the front right there because they're gonna mash up against the hive.
Yeah.
Need to put a guard or something there.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I got. I watched Harris Jubert's video. He runs two of these. I ordered a bunch of extra caps for him. But
Brad
it
was
was
talking
only
about him last night, Philip, and that little tube right there, and he is right. It does tend to bend a little bit. It gets heated up, so just be aware of that. That tube does bend a little bit on you.
yeah.
Still works.
I got a Pro Vap, and I broke mine off and had to get
I hope I can. Now, should I heat it up before I try to straighten it, or just straighten it cold? I don't know.
Oh, I heat it up.
It ain't hard to bend. It's just copper.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what. That thing's it's skinnier than I expected it to be. Are they usually that? I mean, it's like a 1/8 inch or something. I didn't know they were that thin. I've got
You may have it turned that way for a reason, Philip, and maybe keep it away from those other pieces.
I don't think that is it, but I may have to. I'll have to email him and ask him. I'll send him a picture of it. See what he says.
I think those ones on the Instavap or the
How much
Robbie
that
stuff
cost,
is the 930 seconds, Phillips. What the size is on them, I think.
Yeah.
It could just be a air over.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, it's kind of an Instavap knockoff. This was like 205, I think, Charlie.
Yeah.
It wasn't as much as the Robbies are the.
Now that Robbie's that Mark's
go.
got
Yep,
there,
there
mine's my tube is just a little bit bigger than that, I think.
It's just an old corded one with the spout at the top. I wished it was at the bottom, but it ain't. It's one of the first ones they did.
Yeah, this one's at the top too, or in the middle almost.
See this guard there? You need to attach something there to cover the wires up on that one.
Okay. All right, I'll do that because all I got to do is give me a little plate and bend it, but there's still enough thread there.
Yeah.
I can slip it over that.
This one here just runs under the bottom, bent up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That works pretty good though. I'd like to have a battery one, but the generator, I can just run a forklift under it, carry it out there with the tractor.
Mhm.
No big deal.
Yeah, I mean, everybody talks about the battery operated ones, and they're nice, but I bought a ProVap. It has to be at least 8 years ago, way before a battery operated started. And I got a little Honda suitcase generator that's about 50
Yeah.
pounds, put it in the back of the pickup truck and a 100-foot extension cord, and down the road I go.
Right. You don't have
And
to worry about swapping batteries out or
well, you
like,
got to have a darn army of batteries. And I tell people, what,
yeah.
they all say, they'll say to me, well, why don't you buy one? I said, let me tell you something. I said, every time I go get a DeWalt drill, that sucking battery is always empty.
Yeah.
And or if I'm out there, I got my son's DeWalt. I got a little mini leaf blower, and you get out there and you get the pulling boxes and blowing bees out. And I says it isn't the fact that it's the same. It doesn't have the same horsepower when the battery's half dead. As the battery dies out, the motor starts slowing down and slowing down, and then you can't get it to do the job right. There you go. There's what, one battery and a charger, $428.
Yeah. I can
So
buy
now,
another unit for that.
I mean, shoot far. I mean, you got in order for me to switch over to a battery operated machine, it would cost me $1,000 minimum.
Yeah.
And then you better have 4 to 6 batteries.
Where I think they would be nice is like after you've done splits and you're selling nukes, you could vaporize them nukes before they leave the yard. That would be handy. Not have to come up here and get everything. But other than that, it'd be the only time I'd use it, really.
No, I mean, I can fill my little Honda 2200 inverter generator gas tank up, and I can go, well, like right now, I'm doing vaporization every 2 weeks and
Right.
about twice a month, basically, and throughout the wintertime. And if I fill that tank once through that period of time, that'll be a lot and everything. So I just, I don't know, a friend of mine, I was telling him about how I bought one of the first dosers that ProVap came out with to kind of compete with Larabi. And so a friend of mine, I said, call down there and see if you can get, I said, he didn't know nothing about it because he had a 110 and he's kind of out of the loop a lot. And he winds up buying a battery operated ProVap.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Malcolm, you're right. They do burn out. I've done swapped this one out once. It lasts me about 2 years.
Where did you get those elements at, Mark? Because I need to do mine. I've got one of the originals also. It needs to be
The
fixed
bowl,
too.
you talking about? The bowl?
No, the heating elements.
The element was fine. All I had to, no, I take it back. It's the element that burned out.
Yeah.
I just got it through Larabi. He just sent me what I needed and just took it apart. Zip. Wasn't no problem. Seemed like it was about $50, maybe, something like that.
I know some people are a little more crafty when it comes to electric and everything.
Yeah, I probably fix
and they'll
mine.
say, oh, you can go on Amazon and you pick that same set of parts up. And I'm sure you can. But knowing all the detailed particulars about, what works and what doesn't work, I'm like, just go back to the guy that made it and make sure you got the right part.
Mine
That's
went
what I
out
did.
in November of last year, and he had it sent to me before November was out, so it didn't cost me much time at all,
Yeah, well, see, Rob, he lives about 30 minutes from my house and all, but it's just like that ProVap. The burn barrel that has that little copper tubing, that's what broke off, and they sent me the burn barrel with the copper tubing thing in there. And I watched the video or whatever and put it all back together and stuff like that. It works, and it's been working fine. The main thing I learned is if you'll watch me on some of my videos, I had tried to make up a board that clamped onto the wooden racks, and it just didn't quite work out. So I cut a notch in the end of the board, kind of like a U, And I got a short one and a long one, depending on how high the stand is. And I can stick that ProVap in the back end, and it holds the weight of the machine. And I can leave it while it's burning, and get ready for the rest of the hives and stuff like that.
Yeah, I just wish mine on that bowl that spout was on the bottom, but it's not. It is what it is. When you got a pallet of bees, you can't get them behind them, know. And then you have to more or less just sit there and hold it at the entrance.
Didn't he have two different styles of that? One was like the burner the blower was on the bottom, and one was
he
on
come out with that one after he come out with this one.
Okay.
That's what it is. I bought this one first, and then he come out with the other one right after it. So.
Hey, Mark, these instructions here, he says his are on pallets, and he puts his in the side of it. He drills a hole in the side of it.
Yeah, you can do that, I guess. I'll take a drill out there next time. Just drill wherever I need to drill.
Yeah, I always put a hole in the bottom board and blow up through the bottom. I got the core blast that's tight, and then the front end you got that 1.5-inch styrofoam, and I'll make a 2 by 1.5-inch strip, and I shove that right in front of the hive, and it keeps it all tight for about 95% of it stays inside the hive.
Right.
Did y'all watch Bob Benny's video that just come out with the sponges? Y'all watch that? That's pretty interesting.
That was an exceptional good video.
It was. And
some
of the same projects we're doing up here for North Carolina is some of that same project. So I got some other information to share with that. It was really interesting seeing where he cut that up into 4 pieces and how that did a lot better on the colonies for mites. But I also like the information where it was showing that, in spring, the mite load was really low and it didn't look like they needed to be treated. Some of them just had one mite that he got the washes on. And then by the end of the season, some of them were about ready to crash, so.
Like he said, what was it, April and May? Those washes don't even do them at that time because they're misleading.
Yep.
That was a great nugget right there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then, the practice has been around for 2 or 3 years, but nobody you didn't really have any fine-tooth information about it. It's like we know now in the last year or so that it's great when it keeps a low mite load low. And I had one gal in my club, she was getting a back operation. So she knew she could not get into that hive through the summer months. And she made up her own, put the pads on. She did a mite check before and after, and it kept the mites down low. So her hives were in good shape at the time she was able to get back into them and all that. But the information that they came out with and what I liked is that Greg and those other 2 guys, their mite treatment program. It kind of showed.
What I liked was that Greg and there we go.
Who was that?
I'm not go there.
That was me. I was opening up the YouTube so I could see the chats. So I just muted it.
That it emulates pretty close to what I do in my mite treatment program.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I don't do is I don't treat April, May, or June. That's when the honey supers are on. And now he's stating to put his pads in that part of the year, the way I understand it, and then come back in July, August, and hit him with April Guard or Formic Pro. But see, my program for the last 2 years was Aprivar at about the 3rd week of July, which took me right to September. And then I would hit them like this year on the 2nd of September was when we went from hot to cool spell. And I put Formic Pro in full tilt, with both strips. And then I feed after that. And then I start my OA treatments, let's say late October through the wintertime until March. And that kind of thing.
I do think, Charlie, we're going to have to start, and all of us are going to have to learn sooner or later. We're going to have to start experimenting a little more with formic acid, and we're going to have to start learning how to do more brood breaks, because this triple-lapse comes. We're all going to be lost if we don't start experimenting with formic acid and brood breaks. And you're going to have to start timing them brood breaks in and figure it out, because that's all going to be the only way you're going to get rid of them or keep them down low enough where you can have bees. And we're going to have to do more experiment with formic because of the temperature, just like the pads or anything we could come up with that will kill that mite and these other mites that we have now too. But I think that's where the experiment needs to happen right now, in my opinion. It's not the OA. We know OA works with what we have, but does it work with what we're going to get sooner or later? It's just when it happens,
Yeah. Like Ryan here, that's Peabody Hyper. He's south of me in Maryland, about, I don't know, 2 hours at least. He's down closer to the kind of a south side of DC. I kind of agree with that a little bit. I mean, everybody says, that the mites won't probably never get used to OA, but I don't know. You know how Mother Nature is. So she'll fool you every time.
Yeah, but will OA work on a triple-lapse?
I talked to Sammy Ramsey on that a little bit, because he used to, live around here. Or
they mainly stay in the cappings. See.
Yeah, well, see, triple-lapse doesn't go underneath the cappings. It all runs around on top of the cappings. He found out.
Does it?
Huh?
No, they stay in the cappings.
Stay in the
They
cappings.
do. Yeah.
They only stay out of the cappings for like a half a day or something. They don't.
They'll jump
That's the
from
thing.
one to the other. Where the mites we have now, they pretty much got to take a ride and suck the fat bodies out and then jump into the cell.
Yeah, it takes them. They think minimum of 4 days.
He can go from one cell to the other, to the other, to the other, to the other.
Yeah, that's what I heard. That the mite we have now needs to be out for at least 4 days and up to 15 days before it goes back into a cell.
He stated in one of his presentations where he found out the guys over there in Thailand, I guess it is, they would take formic acid liquid and they'd wrap a, cotton or whatever around a paint stick, basically, dip it in there, and then shove that sucker in the front of the hive, and it would make them bees boil out of there in order to get, to kill them damn mites and stuff down there. The way I understood it. I don't know whether it actually killed them or what, but it did something to them. I don't know. That's what he's working on now. He's trying to get funding and everything for everybody, beekeeper clubs and stuff to fight the mite fund type of thing.
So, yeah. I don't know whether we'll ever see it. I hope we don't.
Yeah, I don't.
They claim that the triple-lapse has to have brood to survive. So that's why a brood break will kill them off.
That's why you need to start learning brood breaks. And it's going to be tough when you got a lot of colonies to do brood breaks.
Gotta find that darn queen.
Yeah.
So speaking of what Mark's on right now, and I've talked to Tom and Melissa about this, and Lee, I think Spanky's seen my message also. I'd like to do some experimenting, and maybe experimenting with the people in the chat, and let's see what everybody gets. So I would like to do some experimenting with the sponges, the OA sponges, because we're seeing some information is a little bit different what Doug got, but now what he did and what we did was a little different up here, and the mountains are a little bit different, and that's part of the fun about doing a project is what Charlie's getting is something I might not get, or even Lee down in the south. So if we do some of the experiments together as a group, it'd be interesting to see how the information would come together.
So what are
And
you not? What are you doing different? Compared to, let's say, what you seen on the video
I will mention that here when we
in the
get all
green
data
room.
together, because there was 3 people, I think 3 or 4 people that actually did that same experiment, and we seen a little bit different. But now some of his experiments were different than what we did. We didn't cut any of the strips up like he did, so that was different. He started earlier than we did.
Right.
He started spring. We started mid-spring because of the way the winter is up here, and it extends out a little bit. So, but I'd like to get all the data together and present it, because I don't want to say. My thing is, we don't want to say, well, this person's wrong or this person's wrong. It may just be the area that you're in versus the results that you're getting, and that's kind of what I want to do on here. Maybe get a group together in the spring and let's do some treatments like Mark's talking about, or some brood breaks, and let's see if we can't come up with something that works for. We may come up with something that would be really awesome. So I like.
Well,
I like,
it's like my
Y'all,
past.
I'll be right back, y'all. I'm being summoned by my wife. She just had surgery, so give me a few minutes and I'll be back.
Yep.
All right, good enough,
All
Mark.
right.
It's just like OA. I used to do it in September. I was doing it once a week for 7 continuous weeks. And then I got up to, well, let's do it twice a week. And in my mind was, I am going to get the mites coming out of the cappings like April, because Aprivar is it only kills the phoretic mites on the bees. It does not kill the mites underneath the capping. So I said, okay, I'll do it every Wednesday and Saturday or whatever. It's like about 3 or 4 days apart. And I'll kill all the mites that are coming out of the cappings. That's what I had in my mind. And I'll do that for 6 to 7 continuous weeks until I used to start, I think it was September. Yeah, it was September. And I would go all the way to when the time changed, because by that time, 5 o'clock, it's dark. And did that. Then I lost about half of my hives on my nukes doing that. So it didn't work. So I had to listen to what the science folks said. And the fact is, OA is great as long as there's little to no brood in hive. That's when it's effective.
Hold on. Did you have those results, Charlie, when you were doing the twice a week or just the once a week?
Twice a week.
That's odd, because that's what I've been doing every year, and I hadn't lost bees yet.
Well, I did here,
And I did every 4 to 5 days, and I'll watch how many drop, and as long as they're dropping, I just keep doing it. And I might my average number of times is probably 4, and I've gone up one time. It took me 10 different treatments to get the mites down, but 4 to 7 or 3 to 7 is what I generally have to do to get
Then I
them
had
to stop dropping.
One of my club state meetings years ago state that he was going to start OAing them at least once a month through the wintertime to keep mopping stuff up. And that always stuck in my head. And so the last several years, I said, okay, I'll, number one, be almost broodless or near broodless as much as possible. And I'll do OA at least once a month, if not twice a month. Now, like this past year, when we were at Nobby, that was the weekend that was 45 degrees. And then the rest of January was cold. Well, I never got to do any OA in January because it was too cold. But I did at least two doses in February, maybe one in around the 1st of March. And then after that, I quit for the year, for the season. And then I've been doing Aprivar late July through August. Then I do 2 strips of Formic Pro. Now, I just got 3 years ago, I participated in the National Honeybee Survey. She came in October, or actually just before October, before I started feeding her. It was getting late, and I was a little bit concerned. But anyway, I had did Aprivar and I had did Formic Pro, and then we did samplings, or she did all the samplings and stuff. Came back with a 0.2 mite infestation, which is super low. Then this year, I participated in again 3 years later. This time, she came on the last week of the 6-week period of Aprivar, and I got my results back here this past weekend. And then she said, am I going to follow Aprivar up with something else? I said, yeah, Formic Pro, which was the next following week, which was the 2nd of September. Because we seen Varroa on a lot of the drone brood that was in between the frame bars and stuff like that. And so my Varroa load per 100 bees was a 3.6. So I was a little bit over, about 11 or 12. Instead of having 9 mites, I should probably around 11 to 12. I'm a little on the high side. And let's see. Nosema was like, my value was a 0.1 and national average is a 0.3. I did have some deformed wing virus. I was at like, they got a sliding pointer thing here. It says around 23%, I'm going to say. And that was deformed wing virus A. And then the B wing virus, I was like right 76%. And so the parameters here, national prevalence is what they call it. The one was 74% and I'm at 24%, and the other one was 95% and I'm at 76%. So I guess the way I read it, it's not too bad when it comes to that. But what I was looking at was the percentage of mite infestation after just Aprivar. Aprivar, as far as I'm concerned, really, I don't think really did a whole great lot there.
All right.
And so I'm going to, next year's, I'm going to switch it up to Aprigard. I'm going to try to do a half dose, even though I'm going to try to get in there, let's say I want to do between the 15th of July to the 15th of August. Then give the bees a break, and then hit them with Formic Pro back in September when the temperature's cool again.
So, Charlie, that's something we did when we did the sponge test. We did another treatment, and I won't say exactly which one it was, and it wasn't Formic Pro. Let's put it that way. And that's the treatment, and that shit did nothing to knock down the mite load. So that was some interesting information that Doug didn't do that we did.
When it comes to, I don't do little to no washes at all myself. I mean, I get them to do these experiments because they do it all, and then they send it to a lab, which is much more accurate than I'll ever be with a mite wash. And they check for all the other stuff, the viruses and the K-wing and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And Peabody there's got a very good thing, and I agree with that statement wholeheartedly. Using swarms, I know you lose honey, but it is definitely a healthy way for your colony to get rid of those mites. And if your man can figure out how to get his honey crop in and form a swarm right after that to take that mite load out and requeen itself, man, that would be the perfect world right there if you could figure out how to get that done.
Yeah.
As far as brood breaks go, I was thinking more like dropping a queen cell in with a queen protector or a cell protector around it, and take 10 colonies and do that and see what your average is, and see if that's a long enough brood break. See what your average is of them killing the queen and coming back mated. is a shot in the dark, but it would be a brood break.
Yep.
And you wouldn't have to find a queen.
That's true.
And making cells is easy. You
Right.
know.
So how are you going to explain that again, Mark? You said you don't have to find the queen.
Just drop the cell in the top of the hive close to the brood nest, let it hatch out.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. So, okay. So that virgin will kill that queen. Okay.
Right. And she's going to be a week or two to age and then get out and fly. And then you should have a brood break there. I don't know how much it'll be, but I
Yeah. I
just
think
have to look at it.
I think a lot of commercial guys do that every year. They'll come and drop cells in every one. Now, I don't know which queen, and they don't really care. They just are trying to refresh their queens.
You could do that several times a year. But like I said, every time you do it, you're gonna lose brood. But
Well,
they're still gonna make honey if there's enough in there to make honey. They're still gonna make honey regardless.
I don't have any experience with Formic Pro or Apogard, but don't both of them force a brood break?
Somewhat.
They can kill your queen, the Formic Pro, if you're not careful.
Well, I don't think that's even an option for me, as hot as it is here for as long as it is. But and now my next question is: everybody says it kills the mites below the cappings, and I'm wondering, does it also kill the larva, or does it really just persist in the hive long enough for the bee to hatch out and then the mite's exposed to the chemical?
It depends on how many of the pads you're putting on there. If you're putting one pad and then swapping it out for the other pad, it's not penetrating the cappings. You have to put both pads in at the same time.
Okay, does that kill the brood below the cappings as well or not?
I mean, if it did, I don't think they would have a very good business going.
I've never seen the Formic Pro kill the brood, but maybe I'm wrong on that, Philip. Because I don't use it a whole lot.
That's reported with queen issues is the 2-pad.
Well, my experience is this: I have not had queen issues. The main thing, and I say it on my videos, the parameters is they say up to 85 degrees Fahrenheit. I tell everybody, you don't want to put that on there unless it's between you temperature wise, you don't want any more between 75 and 80 degrees. And you want low humidity, because the humidity is just like us. We can have 100-degree day out here, but if it's low humidity, it don't feel like 100 degrees. And if you have an 80-degree day out here and you got high 80% humidity, it feels like 110. And I find that low humidity with that acid, if it's high humidity, the acid is harder on the bees. And so I have been using for the last couple of years. I do both pads, or one satchel, which has 2 pads in it. I make sure it's September the 2nd. It got between 75 and 80 degrees, low humidity and that's another thing. You want it at least 4 days. The first 4 days is the most off gassing. And then I haven't had any problems.
So would you think about doing that on
Lee
the
talks about
overcast day,
coming to
Charles?
Southern. Lee talks about coming to Southern Louisiana. All right, definitely location. Down there, if I was living down there, and from what I gather, talking to Brad from the Cajun Homestead, that you're going to be applying this kind of a treatment somewhere around February, January, when it's about 70 some degrees during the daytime, 70, 80 degrees, something like that. So, what happened?
Well, I'll tell you what, Lee, I grew up in Louisiana and it was humid all the time, but I never have been as hot and humid as I was when I went to Washington, D.C. in August. That was the most miserable. You couldn't even be outside at all.
Yeah, that's right.
It was so swampy. It was crazy. It was not. We couldn't go monument crawling until it got dark. And they actually warned us of that when their little paperwork. I was at something from college, and they warned us about the humidity. And I was like, I'm from Louisiana. I'm not worried about humidity. I'll be all right. I was so wrong. It was the worst. It was worse than Louisiana.
That's why they call it the swamp, you know.
Yeah, it really was. Well, flying into it, you could tell it's all swamp.
Well, guys, I'm going to call the chat here tonight, and the wife's trying to get home. She's sending me some messages, so I don't know if she slid off the road or what's going on, but I'm going to get off and see what she's saying here. But anyway, we appreciate everybody coming out with us and talking with us. And like I said, I would like to do some experiment with the people in the chat and see what we can kind of come up with and see if we can't have some fun. But Charlie, appreciate you coming on. Philip, JW, you guys, it's a good chat tonight. Good information given out. So, and we will see you guys next Thursday, and check out Charlie tomorrow.